I am Kwame Kamau Ajamu. I spent 28 years of my life in prison, 3 years on death row for a crime I did not commit.
Hi, my name is Garrett Wayne Jameson. I'm the 119th death row exoneree in the United States. I did 20 years on Ohio death row. In Ohio, I watched 56 of my friends get executed.
My name is Juan Roberto Melendez. I'm the number 99 person in the nation to be exonerated and released from death row for a crime I did not commit. I spent 17 years, 8 months and 1 day in death row.
Witness to Innocence is the only national organization composed of and led by exonerated death row survivors and their family members. Our mission is to abolish the death penalty by empowering our members to be leaders in the abolition movement. We also seek ways to support death row survivors and their loved ones as they confront the challenges of life after exoneration. Sabrina Butler Smith was only a teenager when she was convicted for the death of her 9-month-old son Walter and sentenced to die in Mississippi. Today, she shares her experiences all around the country.
Imagine going to death row at that age. I lost my son. I didn't get a chance to grieve. Didn't know where he was buried. None of that. But here I am on death row. In a cell no bigger than your bathroom. Imagine sitting in a cell for 2 years, 9 months with no human contact. What do you do when you're inside of this cage and you know there's no way out? And you sentenced to die for something that you didn't do? I go there everywhere, anywhere I possibly can go to try to tell my story so that people like you can understand what happens when you are thrown into the system.
Witness to Innocence began after Sister Helen Prejean met Ray Crone, an innocent man sitting on death row in Arizona. Ray was exonerated and released after 10 years in prison, and in 2003, he and Sister Helen founded Witness to Innocence.
What better a voice to speak out against the death penalty than somebody that actually suffered the consequences? Not fully the whole way through to be executed, but had actually been on death row. And this was all about for the empowering exonerees to be able to tell their story, go out and change the country, people's minds, governments about the death penalty. I'll have to really confess, I used to support the death penalty, but it was because it never mattered to me. I wasn't concerned about the death penalty. It wouldn't affect me, it wouldn't affect my family. At least I didn't think so, until the day it happened.
If I'd have had a clue what I was going to have to spend for the next 9 years, I'd have made them kill me that day. That's what I experienced in America, physical torture. In 1970, being brutalized and tortured, interrogated hours and days at a time, telling me that I did something that I didn't do.
Suja Graham spent 5 years on San Quentin's death row for a crime he didn't commit.
I want justice for all. We can be a secure society without having to relate to capital punishment as a form to correct someone. What did the Crips say? Tookie Williams, who died on San Quentin's death row, God bless his soul. He said, what's the difference between a murderer and a state that murders? And the predetermined outcome is orchestrated death. He said, when someone robbed, do we enact robbery against a robber as a form of punishment to show that robbing is wrong? Of course not. Well, why when someone killed, we say life is the most sacred thing, and we kill to prove that killing is wrong? There's no way to go.
Suja, Ray, Sabrina, and all of the members of Witness to Innocence are working to end the death penalty by telling their powerful stories and exposing the fatal flaws in America's justice system. Death row exonerees have been pivotal in every state that has abolished the death penalty since 2003.
And one of the wonderful things, amazing things that show what the message of exonerees has to offer was the fact that these governors, when they signed that bill to abolish the death penalty, they cited the possibility of executing an innocent person as weighing heavy on their mind. That they didn't want to be responsible for executing an innocent person.
I'm Kirk Bloodsworth, Executive Director of Witness to Innocence. More than 165 people in the United States have been exonerated from death row. I am one of them. This means for every 9 executions, one person has been found innocent. There's no telling how many innocent people are sitting on death row today, or even worse, how many have been executed. The only way to end this injustice is to end the death penalty. As death row survivors, we at Witness to Innocence have dedicated ourselves to the abolition of the death penalty. Will you join us today? Hello, my name is Kirk Bloodsworth. I'm the Executive Director of Witness to Innocence. But I also have another moniker, as you might well know. I'm the first person in the United States to be freed from a capital conviction based on post-conviction DNA testing. In 1984, I was an honorably discharged Marine, no criminal record or criminal history. I'd never been arrested for anything in my life at that point. I was newly married and just moved to Baltimore County, Maryland. I was there for 30 days. A crime had occurred in the town of Essex, Maryland, of a little girl by the name of Dawn Venice Hamilton. She was found brutally murdered in a wooded area near her home. And as you all might know, that a search ensued for her killer. The person was described as being, the perpetrator was described as being 6'5", curly blonde hair, bushy mustache, tan skin, and skinny. My hair was as red as a fire plug back in those days. I'm about 6 foot tall. And to say I was skinny, I was very thick person, muscular bound. I was 23 years old, right out of the Marines. I was in good shape. And to say I was tan was just a mistake right off the back. I don't tan, I burn. As it came clear to me at about 2:45 in the morning on August 9th, 1984, a big bang came on my door. Boom, 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 boom. Open up. It's the Baltimore County Police Department. We have a warrant for the arrest of Kirk Bloodsworth. I went to the door, flashlights in my face, all of them shining. Step outside, Mr. Bloodsworth. You've been found to be accused, and we're arresting you for first-degree murder of Dawn Hamilton. Somebody in the background saying, put the cuffs on that son of a bitch. My life after that point in August went totally downhill from there. I was tried and by a grand jury convicted of to go to trial for Dawn's murder, all based on witness identification of a person that was people who had only, some people testified that they had seen this person, but they had only heard him. Witness testimony in criminal trials are very, at best, do not say the truth about who committed the crime. They just put on a performance. You have these people pointing a finger at you and saying that you're the one responsible. My trial lasted about 2 weeks. One witness after another, 2 little boys, an 8 and a 10-year-old that's testifying. One couldn't figure out who did what. They held a lineup right before, right after he had shown me all on television. And the police saying, oh, we got the suspect and he has blood in his name, referring to my last name as Bloodsworth. But I also had a middle name too, and that was Noble. You know, I spent over 8 years, 10 months, and 19 days. When the gavel came down on my life, the judge sentenced me to death in double life. The courtroom erupted in applause. Give him the gas and kill his ass, they said. I wound up going to one of the most notorious prisons in the United States, the Maryland Penitentiary at 954 Forest Street in Baltimore City, where a guard had been disemboweled 2 weeks before I got there from a perceived insult from another inmate. Here I was. They handcuffed me. I kind of like half jumped off that bus and pigeon walked all the way to the South Wing, where it would be my house for the next 7 years. The gas chamber loomed in the distance out in the foreyard. There it was. There was my fate. That 300-pound door slammed shut. My life was almost over. At least it was over at that point. I can't tell you what it feels like to sit in a place that I've been out now 27 years, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But there was a little acronym that saved my life. DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, was the winner of the time. I read this book about the first time this technology was ever used in a criminal case. Gary Dobson had been released, based on that RFPL test of DNA. It wasn't him. I had to find the evidence to prove my innocence. And it turned out that the evidence that the prosecutors say they never had was in my judge's closet in a paper bag in a cardboard box, sitting in the floor. Half of one cell told the truth. Kirk Bloodsworth was an innocent man. I used to sign all my correspondence. Flash forward 10 years later, after I received a pardon and $300,000 for my trouble. Some people don't get anything. But here I was, waiting to hear the news. And the prosecutor on the other end said, we have an update on Don Hamilton's murder. And it turns out that the real killer of Don Hamilton was not 6'5", but 5'6" and 160 pounds. And he slept in the same prison with me for 5 years and never said a word. Don Hamilton finally had justice. I would like to tell you that my story is unique, but if you're watching this today on Wrongful Conviction Day, you know better than that. 170 plus people have been exonerated off of death row alone. They wanted to kill me. I spent time underneath the gas chamber. And they asked me one time, did I want to paint it for my debut, Captain Kirk? This was my life. But people like Julius Jones in Oklahoma, he has some of his evidence, or so-called evidence, in his trial, witness identification. I have to read this now because I can't, understand it all. Circumstantial evidence. No fingerprints in the car he was running in, or on the gun. Snitch testimony. His co-defendant testified against him. Eyewitness testimony, and we all know that they picked the wrong guy. Julius Jones is sitting in prison in death row for a crime he didn't convict, as much as I'm sitting in my kitchen. JusticeForJulius.com. Check it out. Now I have to tell you that that my story is not unique. And I want to bring on the next person that's going to speak at the moment. We'll take questions, but my good friend and peer support person, Derek Jameson. Derek? Derek, you have to turn your mic on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, my name is Derek Wayne Jameson. I'm the 119th death row exoneree in the United States. I was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, and October the 25th of 1985, I was wrongfully convicted and sentenced to die in a Hamilton County courtroom for a crime I did not commit. And it was October the 25th. It was the worst day of my life. Can you imagine being sentenced to die for something you didn't do? I sat in that courtroom, man, and I heard that judge sentence me to death. He tried to take away my life. I was sentenced to die, and I remember that day like it was yesterday. I was like, I know this gonna destroy my family. My mom and my everybody in the courtroom. The courtroom just went wild. And I knew I was innocent. And I remember that day like it was yesterday when I arrived at the prison. They brought out the welcoming party. They cleared the whole. This is a maximum security prison. They cleared the whole prison, and all these guards, gray shirts and white shirts, they marched me down to death row. And I remember entering in the death house, cause the first thing I saw when I walked in the death house was the death chamber where they keep the electric chair, Old Sparky. That was the name they gave it, cause young men and women had been caught on fire in this chair. They gave it the name Old Sparky, cause people had died in this chair. Over 300 and some people had died in this chair. So I'm watching this, and they strip me, they take all my valuables and send everything home, and I'm standing here with no clothes on, and all I could do is look up at this chair, man, this chair, this death, this death, mass destruction, and I'm looking up there, and they clothed me and they walked me down the hallway. They cleared the hallway for security reasons, and they walked me down to death row. And I remember arriving on death row that day, and I remember it was so loud. All these guys already been condemned to die. They was the block was just real noisy. You could hear rap music, country music, people trying to talk over one another. But when that guard opened that door and said "dead man walking," and I looked back and I was like, I ain't dead yet. It got real quiet, and I could hear the inmates saying, he's here, the new guy's here, the new guy's here. But what shocked me, they told me I'm in cell 27, and cell 27 is on the second floor. So these guards had to carry me up these steps to the second floor. And as I was walking down this corridor, I was looking at all these young guys. They looked like babies, man. They were kids, man. These young guys, all these young guys already been condemned to die. I'm walking past them, they introducing themselves to me, but I didn't want to talk to nobody. I couldn't talk to nobody. I was in shock. I had just been sent to die. These guys, the state had just taken my life. So I went down to cell 27, and I remember that door slamming behind me, man, like boom, and it scared me. And I sat on that bed and I just cried. For 14 long years, I sat on Ohio death row without an execution. And in 1999, a young man by the name of Wilford Berry, he volunteered to be executed. And I'm sitting here on death row for 14 years without an execution. And this young man volunteered to be executed. And I remember the morning they carried out that execution. I'll never forget. Wilford Berry was a little bitty white guy with curly hair, short, looked real young, man. Because, penitentiary got a way of preserving people. He looked real young. And I remember he volunteered to be executed. And I remember the morning of the execution, all these guards and all the media, there was media everywhere. And this was Ohio's first execution since 1963. We went all them years without an execution in the state of Ohio. And here it was 1999, and they were ready to carry out their first execution. And we tried to stop it, but Barry wasn't from Ohio. He was from Texas. He didn't have no friends. The guards hated him, and the inmates hated him because he wanted to die. And they didn't want to see him die, and they didn't want to see the execution, start, the execution get started in Ohio. But that morning, I remember when the armed guards walked him in and the media everywhere, they brought this little bitty guy into the death house. And I remember they brought him out after the execution on a gurney in a body bag. And the paramedics were carrying his body to the ambulance, and you could see his body moving as they hit the bumps in the concrete. They had executed this young man, and as noisy as death row was, you could hear a pin drop. All you could hear was people crying, because after that execution, it was like a dark cloud came across the state of Ohio. They started killing all my friends one after another. But in 2005, 20 years after the day I was sent to die, I walked off Ohio death row a free man. The same day I was sent to die, October the 25th, it's also the same day I walked off Ohio death row a free man. And since I walked off Ohio, the same day I was walking off of death row, October the 25th, they were preparing my best friend, William Williams, Lil Flip. They were preparing him for his execution. As they were preparing me to leave the prison, they were preparing my best friend to cell right across from me. Little guy named Flip, little bitty guy, weighed 110 pounds, soaking wet. They were preparing him for his execution that morning. And they killed him that morning. The morning I was leaving out the prison, a free man, my brother was on his way to the morgue. But since I've been home for 20, I'm getting ready to celebrate my 16th year of freedom, October the 25th of this month. And it was the best day of my life. The worst day of my life became the best day of my life. And since I've been home from death row, I've been speaking out against the death penalty. And I've joined the organization called Witness to Innocence. And it is a powerful organization that's for death row exonerees to help them speak out and get their message across to the world, because people need to hear this message. We put a face to this message, because killing people is wrong. The death penalty, we got 172 people that's been exonerated in the United States. That's 172 reasons we need to end the death penalty in the United States. We're killing innocent people, A lot of my friends was on death row with me. Them young guys I was talking about when I got there. I'm an older man now. They're my number babies, teenagers. I watched them teenagers grow up to be healthy young men and taken out of their cell and executed. It's going. It's hard for me, at times, because I think about my friends, all the innocent people that's been executed in the United States. 1,520 some people have been executed since 1977 in the United States. We need to stop executions because we're making awful mistakes, because we got 172 people that could tell you that. Most of them are dead now. Most of them are deceased now. But 172 men and women have went through this experience that I experienced, I was sentenced to die for something I didn't do. They tried to kill me 6 times. I had 6 days of executions while I was on the Ohio's death row fighting for my life. And it destroyed my family. It destroyed my brothers and sisters. They still suffer for something that happened to me. The death penalty didn't kill me, but it took my mom. It took my dad. The worst day of my life was December the 9th. I was in my cell, sitting on my bed, waiting on a visit. Can you imagine this? I'm listening to gospel music, Christmas music, singing. I'm on death row with the Christmas spirit. And then I just look up and I see all these guards standing at my door. They came to tell me that my mom had passed away that morning. My beautiful mom, who I was waiting to come visit me, had died that morning. All I could do was picture my beautiful mom laying in that morgue, But she taught me, my mom always told me, she said, baby, she said, it's only one way to treat people. She said, that's good. And that's what I do. My mom taught me to treat people the best, show people love. It's only one way to treat people, and that's good. Thank y'all so much for having me here. And we got a young man in Texas on death row by the name of Rodney Reed. He's innocent. We need to release Rodney, man. We're killers and innocent people, especially in Texas. You know, we done killed a lot of innocent people in Ohio, but we done killed a lot of innocent people in Texas too. Carlo DeLuna, 19 years old, executed in Texas for something he didn't do. Cameron Todd Willingham, innocent, executed in the state of Texas. And now they're trying to kill my brother, Rodney Reed. Thank you. Thank y'all so much for joining us on this podcast. We got to end the death penalty. The death penalty is a human right violation. We need to stop it. We're killing innocent people. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Thank you, Witness to Innocence, for having us here. God bless y'all. Thank you, Kirk.
Well, hello. My name is Clemente Aguirre. I was born in Honduras, May 11, 1980. I'm 40 years old. I ran from gun violence. Have a problem with police any kind of way. And I came here, I didn't speak English. And one day, June 17, 2004, I found my neighbors dead. And my first reaction was to go and help them, which have blood on my clothes, and footprints, and the crime scene. But that doesn't mean I did anything wrong. I got petrified because I was an illegal immigrant at the moment in time, and I was afraid to call the police because if I did, I was afraid to be deported. Long story short, the next day police come and asked me. I went to them. First I said I didn't know anything, but then I went to them. I told them I found them dead. I touched them. I walked around the crime scene, so forth, so forth. I was accused of tampering with evidence, and a week later they charged me with double murder with premeditation or 2 first-degree premeditated murder. They say they found my fingerprint on some knife, which later on ended up to be a lie, a fabrication. I was charged, trial, convicted, and then sentenced to die. They give me 2 death penalties and 1 life sentence. My question was, how many times you can kill somebody? I had that experience, like an out-of-body experience, you know, when you see yourself, what is going to happen to me? What am I going to do? Oh my God, I didn't do this. Why are they doing this to me? Why me, right? It can be anybody. You can hear from Kirk and Derek. It happened in every state. It's not just in Florida, New York, or California, or Texas, or Ohio, you know. It's everywhere. It's been happening. I am number 28 exoneree of the state of Florida, 164 in the United States. Florida now got 30 or 31 death row exonerees. Majority of them by DNA. You heard from Kirk at the beginning, it was his case is the pioneer for all of us with DNA claim. I didn't know what to do, man. 33 people was executed while I was in there. I spent in there for 10 years, 4 months and 20 days. I was incarcerated total all the time, 14 years, 4 months and 19 days. Nobody believed me back then. I say I didn't do it, that I just found them dead and I want to help, and they didn't believe me. Some people, or the majority of people, will tell you why they will do in a circumstance like that. But I promise you, no one of them will have ever been in a circumstance where you have to act or react in any kind of way. This was my only friend. They didn't speak Spanish. I didn't speak English, but we hang out together. I found them there. What was I supposed to do? I was trying to find out if they were alive. I beg and beg and beg to them to please test the DNA. For years. They told me specifically what you wanted to be tested because it's very expensive. I said, what do you mean? Everything. I wanted to test everything, right? You say I did something, I say I didn't. Maybe the real perpetrator leaves something behind. They don't want to test anything. Besides my mother and my best friend, like I say, nobody believed me. It was everything circumstantial, but point out to me. There was no investigation. There was no talk to nobody. And it happened to all of us, right? White people, black people, brown people. It happened to all of us, every race. Minorities, poor people are more likely to be convicted for something they didn't do than somebody else who has money. And that should be wrong. It is wrong. I think the law should be followed no matter who it is or what it is. And you should investigate when you're asking for the ultimate prize that is life itself. Because without life, you don't have anything, right? It was frustrating for years. Eventually, the DNA was tested by Innocence Project, and they allowed me to test some of it, 151 pieces of evidence. They didn't test no one. Then you say my blood was there without testing anything. My blood was nowhere, like I say, but somebody else's blood, the daughter and granddaughter of the victims, which we find out later on that she has confessed to the crime. And police and the state attorneys knew that in the state of Florida. They knew it, but they didn't do nothing about it. They doubled down, saying I was the one who did this crime. It was the hardest part of everything, seeing 33 people being executed. It was my next door neighbor committing suicide. He tried the first time. I called the guards and they stopped it. And I remember they took all his sheet and clothes from him, just leaving him in underwear. And we were having a conversation and he said, why you don't let me be free? I say, you innocent, you fight. You fight with everything you have. The way my mama raised me, right? You fight. Somebody will listen. I don't know who, but somebody will. God is up there. He will let you die like that. He said, nobody believe me. Let me be free. I can do that. So he ended up hanging on himself. And it was really hard because he was my neighbor for like 6 years. And I knew everything about him. He started teaching me everything about race in this country, which I didn't know. And Civil War and all this history thing. I mean, he was teaching me all these kind of things and trying to master my English because I learned in a very filthy way. And he was trying to clean it up for me. He was telling me, no, you don't say it like this, you say it like that. So it was really hard for me when he committed suicide. But he said it was his way to be free. Many people in that row have asked and begged to please, please, please test the evidence. Many. Ain't no death row. It's no exoneree from death row or regular prison that you will ask, do you know anybody that's innocent in there? They will tell you yes. We know many people. If they want to know another one. And this is what happened with Purvis Payne, right in Tennessee. Purvis Payne case is very, very similar to mine. And this happened 33 years ago. He got an execution date for December 3rd of this year. For years, his family, his sister, father, himself, has been begging the state attorney, the district attorney, judges, anybody who can listen on, and with authority in the state of Tennessee, to please test the evidence for DNA. They had refused for so long. Eventually, we all got together with the Innocence, Innocent Project, Latino Justice USA, Floridians Against the Death Penalty, FADP. And we made this massive coverage on the case, like this on Zoom. And for the ones who don't know, I am very happy to tell you that finally they are going to test the DNA. I believe in the man. I don't know him, but I can tell you this. No man will be asked for the evidence to be tested unless he's innocent. I believe in him. The more and more I read his case, it touched me more and more and give me some kind of anger to see how long it has taken for them to test the evidence for so long. We have encouraged you to please write to Governor Lee over there in Tennessee. And the judge, I'm grateful the judge allowed the DNA to be tested. We will find out very soon. Nothing, no anything can give you back your time. They take your life as you know it. You are no longer the same person when you get out than the one you were when you went in. But as this wrongful conviction day, I want to encourage you, all of you who are watching this show, to please, if you have the opportunity to donate to Witness Innocence, Floridians Against the Death Penalty, Innocent Project. Oh my God, there's so many organizations that work so hard for the wrongdoing to people, for justice, real justice. That takes a lot of money. You don't have to give a lot of money, but something will be well received. We love you and we'll appreciate everything or anything you can do for us. And we're going to keep on talking. We are not going to be silenced because we know there's a lot of work to do, a lot of law to change, and a lot of innocent people that need to be free. Thank you very much.
Hello, are we all here now for our Q&A session?
Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. So hi, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Jenny Sheeks and I'm on staff with Kirk and Derek and Clemente at Witness to Innocence as
routine, it was really fulfilling to me. I don't know. It was.
So one of my biggest things in Clemente and Derek, you guys are great, man. I just, my heart goes out to both of you. And but I was in Maryland some years ago, and I've been working. Anybody that knows me, I've been working to abolish the death penalty in Maryland long before I came here to witness Innocence. It was one of my pet peeves, so to speak, and then joining the organization has done nothing but help the abolishment of it. But I remember I was coming out of the rotunda of the the State House, and there was a Republican senator, and he was coming right straight for me. I had no idea, I've been talking to this man for years, and he pulled right up and he says, I'm going to vote to abolish the death penalty today. And looked me right in the eye when he said it. And I said, well, I'm going to hold you accountable for that. And he said, no, you're the one that changed my mind. So my point to all this is that, which was pretty great. They mentioned my case and my name and others 60 some times in the Senate hearing. The Senate vote, where people constantly, go back and forth to argue about a certain bill. And, we passed this thing by landslide. We got extra votes that we never even knew. There was a former Marine that I knew, that senator, who, was generous enough he just, I was pounding him for years, Senator Astle from Annapolis. And when the tote board went up and all those green lights came up to pass the bill to abolish the death penalty, that was one of my greatest feelings. And then being able to stand there and take a picture with the governor and shake his hand and ending it. I tell people all the time, I helped kill the thing that almost killed me. And I did that with all the power of the exonorees, guys and gals from Witness to Innocence and all over the world, from the Innocent Project. I know a ton of them, and that was a special day for me.
Oh, that's awesome. I know, Derek, I'm sure you have a question, an answer and a story too. And let me just bring in what the next question is, because you can speak to that and everybody else can get ready for their answer. So we have a question that came in that says, how did you remain hopeful over the years? And I think that might be a question you guys get a lot of the time. It's because that's, that's a real challenge. So how did you remain hopeful over the years? But Derek, if you want to go ahead and answer that first question about your story, and then, anything about hope you want to throw in there, and then we'll see if Clemente or Kirk wants to answer as well.
Yes, one of my most amazing moments doing this abolition work is when I lived in New Orleans. We used to do voices from death row. Me and John Thompson, rest in peace, John Thompson. Me and John Thompson and Dan Bright, we used to do voices from death row, and we used to do it for the kids. All these young people, all these young kids, because all our kids are at risk. Even the rich white kids, they are at risk. And we used to go out and we used to do voices from death row, man. And it used to be so powerful because all these kids, when they hear our story, 3 different stories, all of them being tears, and we had to give out all these hugs. But the big thing was I could be out on a date, walking down Bourbon Street, and these kids would come up to me with their parents, and they'll be so excited, and they'll be telling my story to their parents. Mom, this is Derek Jameson. He was on, and it was so amazing, man. And I thought that was just amazing. These young people, they remember that. And they spreading this message of hope. And the other question, my mom was a big part in my family and my friends. they told me, baby, always keep your faith, always pray. My mom used to always tell me to pray, and it helped. It helped me because I'm here. My mom used to say, baby, when things get rough, pray. And that's how I kept my faith, and that's how I stayed strong. And that's why I was able to comprehend what I did, and I'm gonna continue to do this amazing work, and I'm gonna continue to speak out against the death penalty. And I love speaking to these young people, especially these young law students. I wish we was allowed to speak to every law school in America. Not just America, all over the world, because we need to end the death penalty all over the world. And I'm glad I'm a part of this abolition work, this amazing work, and I thank y'all for the work y'all do and the work y'all continue to do. I love y'all so much. Thank you.
Okay, I cry for the first 3 to 6 months. My eyes out all day, all night. Every time I was awake, I cry. And one day, I talked to myself, are you gonna let them kill you, or are you gonna do something about it? I would say like that so people don't call me crazy, but to me, it was God talking to me. God can only help you so much. If you don't want to help, you won't get it. He can send you so much. It's after you to decide. Like God sent you blessings, right? And you got your hands open, and you're gonna get your blessings, because if you close your fist, you won't receive the blessings, right? I mean, let your kid fall to the floor and try to pick it up with your fist like that. You won't be able to. But if you grab your hand and you open it up, it's really easy. So I learned English, and it was really hard. But I pray, man. I pray, and I pray like it was no tomorrow. I surrender. You know what surrender means? When you say, okay, do whatever you want with me, and it's good. Even if I don't agree with it, it's okay. But I work hard with the blessing that God gave me. He gave me a lot of knowledge. I learned English by myself. Nobody teach me a word or whatever. It was until I got my English really filthy that somebody, my friend who committed suicide, who was trying to clean it up for me. The hope is when you know that you're innocent and they do something wrong, and you want to fight not to let them get away with it, right? Because we know they have executed innocent people. We know that's a fact. How many, I don't know, but a fact is they have executed many innocent people. So I pray, man, all the credit go to God from me. All the credit go to God and my mama, because my mama teach me from very young age to believe in God. There's a higher power up there, better than us and perfect. And I just pray and pray and pray, and hope came along. And then uncertainty becomes certainty, and circumstantial became facts, right? Everything was against one another. So to me, it was faith, pray, and you learn how to have a lot of patience. Believe me, when you're in there, you learn how to have a lot of patience. So that was my answer for that.
I was 23 years old, so I was a young guy, man. I had no idea. I had been in the service since I was 17, and I thought I was a man. Most 23-year-olds think they're a man till they meet that wall. And when I met that thing and that door slammed shut on my life, I had no idea. But something happened not long after that. It took a while, but I had the sense of peace that I can't explain to the average person because I was right. And I don't want to blow my horn, but we were righteous in that endeavor to prove our innocence. And that's what happened to me. It was nothing anybody could say to me that because they were wrong. They had made a mistake. And that you hear that story all the time. Well, they don't make mistakes. The hell they don't. They make a lot of mistakes. They make more mistakes than you can ever even imagine. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest mistakes they made was not checking a police report about another suspect in the case who turned out, this is true, to be the real killer. He was the 5'6" guy that was in the same prison with me. If they had went back to jail, this was 8 days before I was arrested, so they had plenty of time. They had a week and a day to do it. But it was things like that you know, and I never realized that, but I was at peace because of things. And Derek and I share a similar thing. My mother died in January of 1993. And she passed away the day President Clinton got inaugurated. And I was, consequently, I know that date so well, but it tortures me to no end that, you know, she was my biggest fan because if you notice the theme, all our mothers knew their sons very well. And so, you know, my mother knew mine, Derek's mother, and Clementi's mom too. They all knew who they you know, birthed in this world. And we were just not like that. And it took a long time for that to come around. But when I remember quickly a guard had put a Post-it note in my cell door and it said, "Call your attorney." And I was still struggling with my mother's death. And I go to the door, to the day room and get on the phone. And this guy is screaming. He's a judge now in Washington, D.C. He says he never screamed that loud, but I swear I could have, you know, it was just the excitement of the whole thing. I wound up running down it because he said, "You're innocent, man, you're innocent." I told him, I said, "I know that. Get me out of here." And sure enough, it wasn't long after that that was in April of that year. And by June 28th, I stepped out a free man. Never lost hope, man. It's just because you know the truth. It's everybody else that don't know the truth.
Go.
That's right. That's right. Well, we are pretty much out of time, so we're gonna just wrap it up. There was one last question that came in that we won't have time to answer, but I want the audience to hear it because really it's a question for all of you who are watching, and it says, you know, I'm on the advocate team for Purvis Payne, and while we wait for the governor, it seems to be so hard to get people to care. What more can I do while we wait? And so I just want to put that back on everyone at home who's watching this. Go to the innocenceproject.org, innocenceproject.org. Look for the information about Purvis Payne's case. Write the governor. Find out what you can share. Share it with everybody you know, because we do not have many weeks left. His execution date is coming up in December. His case is riddled with all the same flaws you see in Clemente, Derek, and Kirk's case that say, you know, it is very likely that if he is killed, we're going to kill another innocent man. And so please answer this person's question of what can we do to make people care and help everyone you know hear about Purvis's case and care about Purvis's case. So I'm sorry that we're out of time. We can't hear from everybody on that. And I just want to, you know, thank the Innocent Network and Wrongful Conviction Day for doing all of this, and Kirk and Derek and Clemente for doing what you do. This has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless y'all.
God bless you.
See you
Love
guys.
y'all. Love
Bye,
y'all.
Kurt.
All right,
Bye.
Kurt. Clemente. All
Bye,
right.
homie.
All right, homie. Love you, man.
I love you
See
too,
you.
papi. See
All
you.
right.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us on Wrongful Conviction Day for this important discussion about police accountability and transparency. Some feedback. Hopefully we're okay. I'm Tony Goldman. I am not a professional in the world of criminal justice. I work in the entertainment industry, but I am a proud board member at the Innocence Project, and I've been a passionate supporter of their work for almost 20 years now. So 2020 has been a traumatic year on so many levels for our country. Beyond the pandemic, we have witnessed often firsthand the heart-wrenching killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, Rayshard Brooks, Daniel Pruitt, and so many others. And these shocking displays of police misconduct have created a groundswell of protest in this country, in fact, all around the world, demanding a profound transformation in the way that we police our communities. But the question remains, how will this be accomplished? What are the reforms on the local, state, and national level that are going to actually change our culture and make a meaningful difference in citizens' lives, particularly citizens of color? And how will this help stem the tide of innocent people being in prison for crimes that they didn't commit? So just last month, the National Registry, just by way of some background, the National Registry of Exonerations, which tracks all known exonerations in the United States since 1989, issued a groundbreaking report tracking official misconduct in wrongful conviction cases. The report found that police officers committed